Welcome back to the caster desk for Game 2 in this series between Fnatic and SK Gaming. Reminder, loser here is eliminated. But as it's only Game 2, Fnatic 1 point up. We're going to have to see what SK can do to come back in this one. It was a explosive first game from both sides.
Yeah, and you know, SK decided to stay on the red side, so it doesn't look like they want to change things up too much. I mean, ultimately, this game felt very close for a very long time. You know, the fights were crazy, but they were kind of going back and forth. It all came down to that critical Baron fight, Nisqy Shockwave, that completely sent it Fnatic's way.
Yeah, definitely clutched it for his team. And I think in best of fives, you have to look at what's working. When you lose a game or you win a game, you have to look at what's working. I think in that game, Orianna looked pretty powerful with the Hecarim, with the Alistar, these 3 champs. And I'm looking at Tristana. I think Tristana is such a high prior champ. It was so hard to get onto upset when you're playing Hecarim and Alistar. Like you said, Drakos, in game 1, you can always buffer the jump on the engage. So I think that if you want to play this engage comp, make sure you take away the safe AD carries.
But let's get into picks and bans. Take a deep breath as we enter picks and bans for Game 2. A lot of tension here on the stage. You know, do or die series like this. But for now, the bans remain the same. Eyes on those safe AD carries as you highlighted, Caedrel. Maybe some of the picks that were successful in Game 1. Maybe a game where you can't afford to give Nisqy that Orianna one more time.
Yeah, and like Ender said, SK choosing the red side. Loser obviously chooses a side. SK go for a red. And it looks like the draft's running itself back. Thresh, Tam, Rel, Kalista. We saw TF banned from the side of Fnatic before. We'll have to see if they want to run back the draft. I mean, Fnatic's draft was good. I think what they picked was working. The early rotation of mid was working, but they are the ones that are going to ban away the Tristana. So now Twisted Fate is super high prior. Now SK have to decide, are we going to give them the TF?
I kind of love this from Fnatic, because I think SK, you would assume, you know, the same bans to come on through, maybe a first pick. Tristana and SK this entire break have likely been thinking about answers into these sorts of things. So now they are the ones to take the Twisted Fate off the board.
Yeah, have to see what Fnatic want to first pick. Hecarim, Alistar were the first rotation of SK before. Wouldn't be surprised to see them go again, but I really like what Fnatic done here. They banned away their own champion to force SK to ban a champ, to pick away a champ that SK was finding some kind of success on. Hecarim, obviously one of the strongest junglers on the patch right now. We'll see if SK want to pick up the Udyr, which you didn't see picked up last series. You saw a volley bear response from Selfmade.
And I love that Fnatic aren't letting SK just run back the same draft. They're saying, you have to mix it up, you have to show us something different, not letting them get back into a comfort zone to just try replaying Game 1. Instead, something will change, but I can't imagine it'll be the Alistar first pick, as that is now locked in.
I wonder if they'll take away the Orianna. Early rotation Orianna could be good, denies it from Fnatic. TF's out, and then on 3 you can pick your jungler anyway. So, I mean, Fnatic can force them into the hand if they blind pick like a top and a mid, and then do you decide to pick the jungler on 3? But I think that SK can also throw a curveball back if they take something out of Fnatic's pocket. Because if Fnatic can take away the Orianna, then it could be dangerous for SK, but they take the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kai'Sa plus Alistar can be very powerful in its own right here. Certainly has all-in threat, especially post-level 6 in that 2v2. And ultimately, when you look at it, it feels like this is kind of like a power play draft from Fnatic in the sense that they're changing things up even after a victory and just trying to throw SK off of their game. And if they are to go for the Orianna here, I do think it definitely would serve them well. But instead, they want the Xayah Rakan as a solid answer into what SK are throwing their way. And now SK don't really know what any of Fnatic's priorities are.
And again, I love what we're seeing out of these bot lanes. Explosive bot lanes on both sides. Now, my question is, how comfortable are upset Hylissang on the Xayah Rakan duo? And more importantly, how is Jezu going to perform on the Kai'Sa? There are so many AD carries in our league who have 6, 7, 8 games on this champion. Jezu is not one of them. Again, it is the Kalista, it is the Jhin that he has been comfortable with. Can he perform on this champion in a high-pressure scenario? And
the reason we don't see Rakan too much in the meta is because it gets countered by the engaged supports. Things like Alistar, Leona, Nautilus, the things with Aftershock made it so difficult for Rakan to actually trade on them because he doesn't run it himself. And then obviously the biggest counter Rakan was obviously Lux, you know, hits the binding, gets the Aftershock. So hard for Rakan to find engages. But with Hecarim, you should be able to make it work in a team fight. The lane might be a bit difficult against things like the Alistar. They're going to have to respect it. But SK, banning away the Orianna from Fnatic, looks like mid lane is the focus because both teams have picked up their jungle and their bot lane.
Yeah, and it also feels like there's so many top lane champions that you can relatively easily blind pick away here. I mean, that Rakan for Hylissang, very signature pick for him. The flanks he's gotten off in the past, sitting in bushes for 60 seconds in enemy territory you always know he's going to have a couple tricks up his sleeve.
Honestly ready for the stalemate game where it's just a battle of who can get deeper behind enemy lines. Treatz and Hylissang, just like, what obscure angle can you find a Hex Flash out of a bush? Something we'll have to track, but the Seraphine being banned away, so the utility mid option for Nisqy taken off the board alongside that Orianna. Interesting to see that they're banning the more aggressive mid lane options away from Blue. A guy who didn't look 100% comfortable in that last game. A lot of setup plays where Charms went a little bit wide, so taking away some of those picks from him does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Blue opts into this game. I mean, when you pick things like the Lillia and AP jungle, you want to see AD solo lane. So that's why Fnatic have banned away the Lucian, and they banned away SK on the other side, they banned away Orianna Seraphine. Two champs that work so well with things like Hecarim and Udyr, these bruiser-ish / tanky junglers that get in your face, things with shields and heals come across. But looks like they're going to last pick top. They're going to go for the Victor blind pick. And they've gone for a double AP mid jungle, so that could be dangerous. It could hurt them in the early game, but we'll have to see what Jenax picks up. Last pick, last time we saw Aatrox, and I think the key thing to note here is GP's open, right? Bwipo,
sure.
GP was banned away earlier on, back on blue side, back blinding top lane. Does he want to run it back?
Yeah, I mean, because I think SK are looking at this match and it's like, okay, Nisqy maybe with less volatile champions in mid lane, you blind pick against Nisqy, and then it's just an Azir comes in. Bwipo has all these sorts of crazy picks up his sleeve that he's ready to throw you, so SK obviously want to see what Bwipo goes for. Bwipo likely doesn't blind pick something out of this world, and then Jenax will get answer. So a Sion lock in now. I mean, Fnatic have insane engage, insane backline with self-peel. SK already don't have that great of dive threat of, you know, the ability to get onto the backline. Even if you do with an Alistar, you're never going to touch Azir or Xayah.
Yeah, Aatrox, Gnar are the best picks here for the side of SK. Looks like they go for the Gnar. Makes sense, gives you more engage. We know Treatz and Jenax so good on the engage and the follow-up, but Fnatic's comp to me just looks like almost an Exodia draft in a sense. Yeah. You have the late game scaling on both carries, you have engage. The problem is you have somewhat losing lanes, right? Your bot lane's probably going to push in, your top lane as well. Mid lane obviously contested. But we'll have to see how TynX uses these early game winning lanes to actually start snowballing the game like Selfmade did last time around. But just looking at both compositions, keep your eyes on SK in the early game. They have a really good team fight with the Lillia sleep, the Victor ult, the Alistar engaging with the Mega Gnar, whereas Fnatic have just a baseline scaling team fight comp. Frontline, engage, and hyper carries. That's all that Fnatic have. So when it comes to the mid to late game, it's going to be very difficult for SK to walk up into this much damage that Fnatic has.
Exactly, right? And you're going to have to rely probably on some pretty critical sleeps on critical targets against Fnatic to maybe reduce the DPS coming out from them. Give yourself some time to hit away at the Fnatic front line. But by all means, Fnatic have the straightforward drive-in at-you approach to the style of team fight here.
As we cut to Bwipo just chilling. Mad chilling on stage. We're going to have to see how SK want to adapt to this one, because I like that SK have set themselves a composition where Fnatic want to come into them. They have good reactive, good defensive tools. Fnatic, they've been going full steam ahead, so it does make a lot of sense. That said, if Fnatic play a little bit more reserved, SK really going to struggle to dictate the pace of the game mid to late.
Yeah, Fnatic definitely full steam ahead. And Bwipo, first Gragas and now Sion, he's on tank duty. This is something we saw from Bwipo when they made that World's Finals run. He was that kind of supportive player, and he's back to it on blue side. The blind pick top laners, the blind pick tanks are helping Fnatic, which we saw in game 1. It's more red side Bwipo that we see these crazy picks come out. So Bwipo is calm right now on these tanks. Like you said, he's chilling, but if they get red side, I want to see some spiciness. I want to see the Riven again.
Look, Bwipo's calm for now, but he's also the guy that presses R and says to go in, and I'm going to say let's go into game 2 right now.
And here we go. I feel like Fnatic fished for a level 1 in the last game, and they might fish for a level 1 this time around. Remember, Hylissang was the notorious W start into leap over the wall and to invade the jungle early game.
I was going to say you can do the same thing as a Gragas, you know, by hopping over the wall with your CC ability and just run it back.
Yeah, and I think when you're playing Xayah or Rakan, you have obviously the Rakan jump over the wall to try and look for the cheese, and especially the level 1 of these champs is so powerful. But Hylissang has no flash. He's running Exhaust Ignite with the cleanse on upset, so lots of combat summoners, but the problem is, if he uses his W and treats Flash Sim and engage with TynX around, there's no escape other than the dash.
And I believe Hylissang did this at Worlds too, on the Rakan here, running without the flash there. Of course, everyone knows that you can't immediately follow up with a flash coming out of that ulti, but hey, if you're trying to make bot lane volatile, no flash is going to do it.
Well, and if anyone's going to try to make bot lane volatile, gentlemen, while we do talk about the mid lane matchup as good as Nisqy has been playing, Upset and Hylissang inevitably where we put our attentions back to, because they have been so explosive, for better or for worse sometimes, but you look at that 2v2 kill stat coming into this series, 11 for them overall. If anyone's going to pull off some kills in lane, it is going to be this duo.
Yeah, most definitely. And Xayah Rakan does have a lot of kill pressure in the early game, level 1, looking for the early cheeses. We saw them sweep the bushes early game to get some vision. denies some vision from SK, maybe find the engages. Hylissang does find the engage, and what Hylissang actually did in the early stages of this game is he walked up to blue buff. Saw it on the minimap, he walked up, he got information, he knows TynX didn't start bot side, so he knows the enemy jungle's pathing bot, so he's going to have to respect that, make sure they get the wave in a good state when they're not gankable, whereas Selfmade is pathing on the opposite side. He's going towards top, so both junglers kind of mirroring each other in a sense, going opposite directions. Looks like the crabs will be traded off, but like we said, top lane is going to have the push for SK, and Selfmade pathing up there could be dangerous, especially if TynX decides to do something called the backtrack, which is go back towards the opposite side you started on and contest the crab that the enemy jungle is moving towards.
Yeah, and you know, in game one, Selfmade was super active in the early game, you know, with the early, you know, gank towards the top side that got the kill on towards Jenax. Very uncharacteristic of the guy that usually is just full clearing through his jungle, but now with an extra combat summoner spell on Hylissang, he's going to be making his way into the bot side jungle. TynX on Wolf Camp may not be here in time for Selfmade to actually steal this one away.
Yeah, Selfmade took away TynX's red last game. Looks like he's taking away his blue. Fnatic had the push because they got to the lane first. Looks like they knew that they were going for this, so they went for the push. Hylissang joins Selfmade here. Looks like they'll get the blue. TynX is already gone. I mean, Treatz did put some question mark pings down. They know what's happening. SK know this is happening without the vision because they know Hylissang going out of lane at 2 minutes 30 seconds doesn't make much sense other than contesting a buff, and he still hasn't shown. So TynX smartly decides, I'll go to the enemy top side. I have the top push, and he did take his wolves in the meantime. So Selfmade could be one camp down here if he decides to go for TynX's wolves, and TynX could take away Selfmade's whole top side.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question you have to ask, though, as TynX. Like, is it worth it to risk continuing to go into that jungle a little bit deeper? Because now Nisqy walks up to place the ward to see if it will be a scuttle crab, and you'll notice TynX is going to take the safe approach. He doesn't know how long Selfmade was in his bot side jungle. All he knows is that Selfmade was there. So now he actually leaves both camps up. Selfmade will get an EXP advantage off of this play. And I mean, TynX has, of course, his top side camps that are respawning right about now to go towards. But I like the early pathing to isolate bot lane early on in the exhaust.
Aggression.
That's big damage. Are they going to finish the job? Jezu burning, ticking. Will he go down? The ignite. One more. Not going to do it. 6 health remaining. Oh, still positive for Fnatic, but not the kill that they were looking for, just barely holding on.
Look, I thought that was going to be 2v2 kill number 12 this season for Fnatic. That was just so insanely close.
And look at the summoner spells. Both sides have blown every single summoner, so no summoners in bot. Both junglers are
now nobody has flash.
Nobody has flash, yeah, nobody has flash. Nobody has any combat summoner spells. All TPs are up, and the junglers are definitely going to be looking towards the bot side now because both supports and both AD carries are quite vulnerable. You see Treatz trying to freeze the wave.
I saw this game last game.
We saw this last time. Bwipo, does he have the Q to charge up Jenax?
Double bounce. Selfmade now moving in. He should have enough time to find the knockback onto Jenax. Jenax forced to flash away. Selfmade being patient, though. He waits, he holds on, but now it's the TP being burnt. Jenax goes down. TynX now going to try to finish the job, but keep in mind, Bwipo, that passive form, something that they are going to have to respect. Blue takes a bit of damage, but the gravity field will stop any follow-up. A 1-kill advantage over to Fnatic in that one.
I'm almost a little surprised not to see Fnatic continue that fight. Selfmade, of course, with Sion going into his passive there, gets so much damage he can punt off, but the TP came in from blue a little bit faster. Now Bwipo is actually TPing back to mid.
It's super important TP mid from Bwipo. The wave was terrible for Nisqy. He has to make sure this gets pushed in, otherwise he's going to lose so many creeps. Nisqy is going to base, can come back to mid, but Bwipo will go back topside. They won't lose too much, and I think we've seen this before. It's a run back. Selfmade, early game, level 4, ganking top, and he played it perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, all you have to do here on Selfmade is wait for the flash to come through from Jenax, then get behind him, and there's a slight timing window where maybe Jenax can actually get out of that situation with a slightly delayed flash on that. But then Selfmade says, no, 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 we're not going to keep on fighting here. And that's where Nisqy picks up the top wave. They go for that swap, and now going to be back in standard lanes.
Yeah, and crucially, all TPs were blown. So now the spot lane, which was volatile level 3 because of the all-in, there's no teleports to join it. So now it's all about the junglers.
But the good news for the side of SK is that Blue gets the kill in the mid lane, which can help him out in that individual 1v1. Downside is Fnatic losing Sion. Trading 1-for-1 with Bwipo, not too bad. Giving money to the Hecarim is a dangerous proposition. We've seen how impossible it is to deal with a fed Hecarim, but maybe Hylissang, the one that needs to be worried, will be able to dash out to safety. Battle Dance cooldown, more than short enough for him to make it out of that one.
Yeah, I mean, for a time there, it looked like the wave was in a really good position for Selfmade to get pressure down, or even by showing in the river, potentially set up to deny SK creeps. That wave, of course, continues to push towards Fnatic, but then Hylissang uses his W, doesn't really have the ability to influence the fight anymore, and they have to back out.
Yeah, and just as game 1, both junglers base, they pick up the Lucidity boots. Early boots makes it so easy to get around the back map, obviously, because you have more movement speed, and it's all about bot lane. So they went both straight bot after the fight on top side, and SK are looking to try and zone away Fnatic from the wave. Blue was moving down, but it looks like they won't get too much. And Selfmade on the other side, playing for camps, playing for himself, making sure this Hecarim gets strong, taking away the enemy Raptors, but he knows he's going to lose the crab. He's already getting deep vision. Looks like he goes towards his Krugs as well. Maybe Fnatic want to look for some kind of top dive. If Nisqy can get involved and go towards top side of the map, they have so much vision.
Yeah, I mean, even if there isn't a dive, it's still a net EXP gain. The 2 camps on the top side in trade for the Scuttle Crab while your camps aren't even up, and now you also have the threat to dive as well. Gnar is going to be timing out, and Fnatic are all here for the dive.
Yeah, the last time we saw this, Treatz was around, but he's on the bot side of the map. He hasn't based yet.
Bwipo's really early.
Yeah, Jenax using the ult to clear the wave was crucial. Nisqy was on his way up. That could have been a dive.
Fantastic read from Jenax. If that wave doesn't dive, he doesn't get that damage down on Bwipo, that is an easy kill pickup because Gnar is just so squishy. So good heads-up play to stop the play from going in. That said, still the camp advantage that you talked about. Still that small incremental advantage to Selfmade.
Yeah, and I think just looking back to game 1, this is how both teams are playing. And again, Fnatic playing top side, have top side vision. SK playing bot side, have bot side vision. So trade-offs going well for Fnatic again. They do manage to get the ganks off, they do force the TPs, but it looks like it's even overall a lot different to last game where they had a big top lane advantage. They got the Herald, they used it top. So Fnatic, Drake still up. Hylissang was around mid. 8 minutes on the clock almost. Herald's up as well. We'll have to see how these two teams approach the neutral objectives.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're going to learn a lot looking after the bot lane resets where the bot lanes are going to be going, where the supports are going. Hylissang pathing back onto the map with Selfmade, trying to contest some vision inside the river. There's 2 control wards there that SK can't realistically contest. And because you notice TynX is on the top side of the map, it's actually really hard for Treatz to walk into that bot side river. Hylissang is doing this by himself while Selfmade is clearing his jungle. But because there's no jungler around, Fnatic can kind of get everything they want in terms of their camps on their jungler and the vision in the river.
This could be dangerous.
But Pole, Upset's not quite in range. That's a lot of damage to an isolated target. Hylissang now backing off, Ignite ticking, but just enough of a heal to come through to make it out alive.
But it's that false confidence that Hylissang is given because he walked all the way through the river. You'd expect, oh, SK, they're not fighting me in the river. Well, they probably just walked through lane. No, they walked through river into that brush. Would have been seen walking through lane had they tried to get there. And now he loses so much HP, but is still hanging around.
Yeah, you can see Hylissang clearing out wards, so SK had full information. But look at TynX's health bar. He's doing the Gromp, but he's so low on HP, he won't be able to contest his bot side as well as Selfmade can on this full HP Hecarim. But TynX,
man,
looks like it might go anyway. Both junglers recalling. Almost like a stare down, because Fnatic need to crash the wave, but SK want to stop it. Looks like Fnatic will crash the wave. SK going to back off, Fnatic going to back off. And Jenax on this top side, he's getting himself a CS lead. He's got 2 plates in the top side. And last game, Jenax on the Aatrox was crucial for the side of SK in the fights. And this top matchup's winning for them. They need to make sure that this Gnar can keep pushing, keep the pressure up, maybe get a Herald, and try to start snowballing the game through this winning top matchup that they've drafted on red side.
And in a best of 5, composure is the name of the game. Something that might be a little bit difficult when we look at the overall experience for both sides. Bwipo, Nisqy, Upset, Hylissang, everybody with so much experience. Jenax just experienced getting dove over and over again. So much pressure here top side. We'll hold that thought, we'll hold that story, because Jenax going down is the more important factor right now.
I mean, that's the punishment when you're trying to press forward. Now TynX is around mid lane, but even if you land an ability, Nisqy is going to be able to fly on out of there before the sleep ends up coming through. So now once again, Selfmade runs into top lane. It's just deja vu from game 1. Then has the Herald he can pick up off the back of it. Now the rest of SK are running towards the top side river, but I feel like this isn't a winning move from SK. Maybe the best play is trade for the Scuttle Crab and the Drake on the bot side, because right now they're getting absolutely nothing and even losing massive waves in the top lane.
Yeah, looks like they might be too late to actually trade. Looks like they're going to get this Herald. Jenax didn't have the TP and SK committed all their members towards the top side. They are going to start up this Drake now, but it's just confusing how SK are playing. You know, they have the winning top, they have the early winning jungle, whereas Selfmade's the one getting to top first, getting the ganks. You know, there's even a pink in the top river brush in Bwipo's favor when Jenax has the push, so just disrespecting, not playing for vision. You see many top laners, when they get the push, they ward the enemy jungle on the Gromp on red side, or they put a pink in river, but Jenax didn't put any down, and he's paying the price for it. SK do pick up the Drake, but Jenax has lost so many waves in top. The CS lead is almost even now on the top side. Bwipo a level up. Fnatic have the Herald, they've committed a full swap, so now when it comes to hitting the towers on either side, SK are just slower. They don't have the Herald, they don't have a wave crashing, and Fnatic can just hit this in Jenax's face.
Yeah, I mean, Treatz is trying to run to the top side to help him clear away these waves, and as Gnar, you do have a little bit better wave clear when it comes to trying to remove those. You'll notice Selfmade also on a warpath towards top lane. Nisqy too. There aren't wards to see the approach from the mid laner, but Nisqy does end up going back towards the wave, and these lane swap situations always feel bad when you're you're playing against the Sion too, because you can't really attack the Sion in the bot lane, you know? Even if you do kill him, he's going to clear away your entire wave. Lillia's on the wrong side of the map to help out the top side. Now a Herald goes down mid too, so it's all starting to pile up against SK.
Yeah, this all comes down to the gank in top. Jenax dies, they get towards the Herald, and SK think they have to respond, but they go bot to get the Drake, and then when they get the Drake and push out bot, they're too late to catch top wave and match. So now, in the end, they are matching lanes. The Herald was used miss to get a chunk on that mid tower, gives Nisqy some gold. Selfmade has the chem tank at 11 minutes in the game, so he's definitely spiking, and Fnatic will have push in all 3 lanes now almost. Yes, Jenax can start contesting the push, but like you said, Ender, this Sion's just going to farm out on the tower, and if you want to dive him, go ahead and dive him, but you're probably going to lose way more on the other side of the map.
Yep. And in the previous game, it was neck and neck for what felt like the first 15 minutes. But here, minute 12, Fnatic are steadily pulling ahead. 1,000, almost 2,000 gold now in their favor. Bwipo passed that awkward early game where he's going to struggle against the Gnar. He can walk up and clear that wave in Jenax's face. And for SK, they need to find some opportunities. Because we said if Fnatic were the ones coming into them, playing aggressive, they have great tools to punish. But you see it here. You lay down a gravity field offensively, Nisqy just walks out of it. And this is a very difficult game state for SK to play out.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it's a little alarming that SK don't have better footing after this early game, because again, Fnatic's comp, if they ever see numbers advantage, if they ever see a vulnerable target, they go in.
That, and that's the kickoff there. Gravity Field doing absolutely nothing. Blue's going to throw down the ultimate, but it just doesn't do anything. Nisqy grabbing the kill.
It's just so easy, man, you know? And now that Blue doesn't have a flash, well, Bwipo's got an ultimate, he's ready to get in there. Hylissang's got an ultimate, he's ready to get in there. So mid lane, if Fnatic dominate the vision around it as well, there's just almost no counterplay for Blue here other than to stay underneath his tower or call in reinforcements.
Yeah, Fnatic are just playing the game so smartly. They're playing with the enemy team's information. SK think that Fnatic are playing top side. Selfmade showed himself there a few times. They contested a few wards. So SK thought, okay, let's defend our top side so we can't get dove. What does Selfmade do? He puts a few pings down, bases and goes bot side. Now SK think, well, I think Hecarim's top side. I think he's trying to contest the vision, but no, he's ganking mid, does come from behind, does manage to pick up the kill, and Nisqy just executing the fights really well, just flashing preemptively, knowing that Blue will have no escape.
See if they want to go for a play here on the top side for SK. Hylissang waiting in the darkness. Looks like both sides are going to back away. And it's good that you bring up Nisqy, because we look at this game, we look at these bot lanes, we assume it's going to be all about them. But in the previous match, it was all about the Fnatic top side. Selfmade struggling a bit? No. Super impactful on the map. Nisqy relatively quiet, just going to play Seraphine. Not today. The Orion is showing up. Now he's set up to do it again on this Azir.
Yeah, it's the glow up too, because, you know, during the regular season, so much of it was either the Seraphine or the Twisted Fate roaming around, getting his lanes ahead. And that last game, he just took matters into his own hands. If you actually went back and watched the replay, the rest of Fnatic, it looked like they lagged a second behind his shockwave. They were all running away from the fight while he hits 4 people with the ability, completely destroys him. Now already has gone flying in mid, has the first kill in that matchup, and is going to be feeling very good about himself.
Yeah, Fnatic have these 3 pushing lanes. I think they've taken almost 8 plates before they've fallen now, so if you're SK, you have to try and find a number advantage play, but Selfmade...
Oh, fear knock back, there's just too much damage. Blue, he doesn't have any room to maneuver. Treatz is there. TynX maybe can go for the follow-up, but there's just no options for SK Gaming. They're just getting styled on in this mid lane.
What's the counterplay? There isn't any when he doesn't have the flash, if he doesn't have his Zonias, if he doesn't have 3 or 4 people ready to protect him there. And Treatz.
Fishing for a play here. Is going to land the stun. Jezu now with the follow-up. Maybe this is the kill that they can get back. 150 gold shutdown. The bounty on Selfmade's head, but they're not fast enough. The flash, it goes wide. TynX misses everything.
Oh, Nisqy, he has sliding glide.
Does have the ult though.
Treatz just getting burned down. It's slow, it's sure. Good bit of damage here. Nisqy not going to overstay on the play, but SK trying so hard to force that play. Treatz seeing an opportunity, seeing a window where he thinks he can find a kill, he can find a pick, he can find a shutdown, but it's just not there. The fumbles from his teammates mean the kill does not come through.
But that's what SK need to do. The concept is good, the execution just isn't there. Treatz tries to find the engage, and when you have these 3 losing lanes, you're losing plates, you're losing farm, and the enemy team has full vision, the only thing you can do is just sacrifice a lane, in this case top lane and losing the tower, and try to use a number advantage in mid to try and find a pick. They don't find the pick, they end up losing the fight, they all back off, Nisqy chunks them out, they lose mid tower now, so disaster for SK. They're so far behind this early game against such a good scaling teamfight combo Fnatic, and now Dragon spawning. SK, they are around, Blue has TP. Do they want to take this fight? It could be risky because Fnatic, they're spiking all over the board on every single member.
I mean, they've got mythic items on every single player apart from Hylissang, so there's no chance SK can even try to contest around this Drake. Cloud Drake, well, let's start ulting even more frequently if we are Fnatic, and now that they've removed the outer turrets, bot lane, you know, they're going to get to in just a moment, it opens up Hylissang Hylissang to get active, because for the time being, in this early game, Fnatic haven't really had great flank options, right? With all the turrets on the map, it's a little bit more difficult, so Sion, Hecarim sort of run straight at you. Now, as we get into the later stages of the game, once the turrets are removed, once Fnatic can start slicing away at SK's vision, that's where Hylissang is going to find a brush, find a flank, find a moment to come in from the side, and that's where SK have no chance.
And on top of that mid lane tower falling, on top of Hylissang suddenly able to find so many more avenues into the SK back line or into vulnerable members to find picks, there's also the 4K gold lead. Fnatic very far ahead. Hexflash comes over, but Hylissang immediately out. This is a difficult game. Again, SK in draft maybe had a pretty difficult comp to execute compared to, you called it, Caedrel, the Exodia draft coming in from the side of Fnatic. So the fact that Fnatic have also gotten a strong early to mid game feels like just about a death sentence for SK in this game too.
Yeah, Fnatic's comp just ticks all the easy boxes, right? Teamfight, frontline, and super hyper carries for the late game just in case it goes to that point. But they win the early game anyway, and I think the problem is SK's cross map has just been poor this game. They haven't found top tier 1 when they go for the Drakes or they go for the bot tower. They haven't found anything on the other side of the map when the enemy team's starting Herald or they're looking for these dives top. Their only cross map was a pick in mid and the Dragon earlier on, so SK, they're paying the price for it. They haven't taken any towers yet. Fnatic, the last tower is up in bot side. Treatz has been trying to find engages. He might find one here. Jenax has Mega Gnar and TP, but it's wearing off. They're spotted on a wall and looks like they're gonna have to back off again.
I mean, the vision is just too good there from SK, and then you also look at, from Fnatic, and then you look at what SK can actually do to force a fight, and it's like, what is the effective range of the initiation of SK? Well, it's Flash plus Alistar W. That's about the range they have going for them, and that's not a whole lot unless you're landing some kind of miracle sleep. Fnatic, they can come at you from so far away, so you have to be so precise in your play. If you are SK, you have to be so cautious of that ability, whereas Fnatic are allowed to step completely forward in that bot lane. Upset knows he has an ultimate, he has a flash, he has a cleanse, he has all these things, and even then, he's just going to see an Alistar heading towards him who doesn't have a flash. What's that guy going to do? Absolutely nothing.
And the thing is, when you fall behind the clock against two tanky frontliners in Bwipo and Selfmade, especially someone like Hecarim who's not only tanky but does a ton of damage, it is so hard for SK to play out these fights. And for Jezu, a guy who alongside Treatz has always been kind of that clutch carry in these mid to late game fights, he's just not going to do any damage up against the likes of a Hecarim, against the Sion on the top side of the map, until he gets a few more items under his belt.
Yeah, and now without the mid lane turret, you see Nisqy pushes the wave all the way up, can now cut straight through the jungle. It's Infernal Rift, so the rotations are going to be oh so easy for Fnatic. The second Herald of the game will remove this bot lane tower. SK going to back away from that. I almost wanted them not to use it there, because you could potentially deny some minions away from SK, but now they're just playing off the fog of war, looking for play.
Yeah, Jenax has TP though. He has TP, there's a ward behind them, but Selfmade.
Gage coming in, Selfmade is going to knock Treatz back. Treatz with a lot of damage reduction, but here comes Jenax. It's just a mini Gnar, however, no rage stacked up. And that's
rough.
That is
very rough.
Yeah, there was a ward behind them in the river, there was a ward behind them in the bot lane brush, so I thought SK was going to try and double TP behind them and try and find and engage when Fnatic stepped forward with his Herald, but in the end, they didn't. Bwipo still has the TP as well. He rotated down from top to mid, whereas Jenax TP'd, so he still has the TP advantage.
Exactly.
And they can always have a number advantage on these fights. We talked about the only way SK can get back to
Oh,
this game.
Jezu! What?
Wait.
We're teleporting! It's like
loss.
everyone gets to play Kai'Sa or something. Hylissang had flash all along.
They do manage to get over Jezu. Jezu used the ult and the flash to escape, whereas Hylissang only used the exhaust. So the next team fight, that's gonna hurt against the Hecarim.
I love that you're the voice of the reason. The three of us, I thought for sure you'd go in there. I love that you're the voice of reason. All right, again, resetting, taking a deep breath. It's 20 minutes. It's a 5K gold lead for Fnatic on a composition that we've called out multiple times as easy to execute. Things are going in Fnatic's favor right now. And when we look back at the regular season, this was one of the most volatile seasons we've seen from Fnatic ever. I mean, like, you look back, yes, they finished 9-9 in the previous season, a much closer race. That got them 4th place. They finished 9-9 this time. The first time they've been out of the top 4 in the regular season since 2016 summer. Yeah. No one wants to talk about that lineup. Trust me, I don't. That lineup was rough. That was the spirit in the jungle. That was a difficult season. So the fact that they were in that position had a lot of people, myself included, doubting, but we are seeing from Fnatic. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what they feed these boys, but every time playoffs comes around,
we gotta play.
Fnatic always shows up. That said, Bwipo might need to get out as an option.
I mean, he's got friends on the way, and this is one tanky boy.
Oh, all Treatz. That's going to be a big flash, though. They're going to follow up, but Selfmade's just going to one-shot Jezu.
No flash.
He has a mark to go to, but there's no room for him to maneuver. The flash in, the big Q.
Oh, no.
Not quite a solo bolo, but it's damn close. The boss would be proud. Treatz now on the retreat. Blue maybe trying to get something done, but that's Hylissang. There's the follow-up, and Fnatic It is SK who overstay their welcome, and Fnatic the ones who turn and punish.
Yeah, we talked about SK trying to find a pick, but Bwipo, he has the ult. Treatz does flash in to try and deny it, but Bwipo's just too tanky. If you're going to pick someone off, pick someone on one of the carries, but Bwipo ends up paying the price. He dies, but for 3 members on SK. TynX has flash and he has smite, but there's 4 members of Fnatic alive for this Baron. Selfmade had smite as well. SK need to steal this, or I think they're just pretty much out of the game looking at Fnatic's comp.
They had a sleep for a moment. They could have cast on Selfmade. TynX does have that flash, like you said. It's down to 5,000 HP, but do they have any wards to get into the pit? Not really. They have a blue trinket soon to try and spot something up, and Hylissang's trying to zone TynX.
3K getting lower. Nisqy the only one in the pit. Selfmade no room to maneuver. Now
He's low HP too.
4K, the Baron's resetting. A bit of a fumble here. Selfmade not comfortable enough to sit in the pit. SK are going to hold on. They're going to live to see another day.
Who are these people, and what have you done with Fnatic? They're backing away from the Baron. They're playing so calm and so measured, and that's the huge difference, I feel like, from Fnatic's regular Season 2 now. Even the start of Game 1 was all over the place, but then after that Baron call, the way they closed Game 1, calm and measured, the way they played this one too, knowing they have the scaling advantage, so calm, and SK know they have to do something because the game is falling apart.
Yeah, but look at all Fnatic. They just collapse in time. Yes, SK do make the play happen, but Jezu has no ult, no flash from earlier on. From the earlier on Hylissang play, and he just gets punished for it, right? Selfmade jumps on him, Bwipo jumps on him, too much tankiness, too much frontline, and then Hylissang an upset. Nisqy's there as well. The engage is clean. They managed to pick up a few kills. And now I think when they started the Baron, I think Upset was trying to zone away TynX from stealing it, and he didn't actually do damage to the Baron. He wasn't actually doing DPS to it, which meant that Fnatic were getting quite low. Selfmade was already chunked out from the fight. Bwipo did TP in, yes, but Selfmade couldn't tank it enough. It did reset in the end, but like you said, Fnatic respecting, backing off, playing it slow. The game is essentially in their hands. They just need to execute it properly.
And this kind of control, we saw it. If you remember the story of Week 1 for Fnatic, it was 2 completely bloody games. Just insanity. Making plays that no one would make, trying to force fights left and right to win games. But it was the 3rd game that everyone was excited about. It was calm, it was controlled, and it was collected. And we're seeing that same form for Fnatic here today. And it's a good look. SK, though, they see their opportunity. They know what they have to do to turn this game back in their favor.
This Baron's getting low.
But they don't have vision in the pit. It's important to note.
And it's Selfmade just with the bluff. He runs underneath the mid lane inner tower, then dances around inside the jungle. Only comes to Baron when it's at 2k HP. SK have no way to get into the pit. And again, the critical weakness of a composition like this. How do you step forward into Fnatic if you are SK, especially at a deficit like this one? You are always going to get run down. So if Fnatic plays strongly around their vision setup, if they play around objectives, if they play around sieges, and don't give SK windows to come back in, SK are just going to slowly die out.
Yeah, Fnatic just grouped up, started the Baron with the Sion and the Azir, and SK didn't have flashes to contest. Yes, TynX and Blue have the flash, but if Selfmade's running in your face, Hylissang's hovering into Fog of War, it's so hard to walk up because they're just playing a guessing game at that point with no vision. In the end, Fnatic do sneak away the Baron, and now SK, the only way that you win against a team with Baron is find a pick, find an engage before they can get the setup. Nisqy's not there yet. Selfmade's kind of far.
Bloom sees it.
But they get spotted out, and their engage is too one-dimensional. It's basically an Alistar and a Gnar, so if you can just spot it out, respect the Gnar that's coming up for Jenax, time Treatz his flash, that's their essential engage, unless TynX wants to flash in and try to find a sleep.
And this is just an insanely difficult game state. And again, we are waiting for the big playmakers on the side of SK. TynX is added to that list this time around. Treatz, Jenax to be the turn factor. That said, you mentioned it already, so telegraphed. Gnar is the most obvious engage ability in the game, and when you are the team with total vision control along the bottom side here, there are no avenues, there are no angles for Jenax to find a way into the Fnatic backline.
Yeah, look at Fnatic going for the 1-4 again. The pressure point is the 4 members, whereas Bwipo's just catching waves, buffing up waves, and pushing it in their face. So you can see how Game 1, Game 2, how Fnatic want to play out this Baron, and the first Baron is always tier 2s. Like we said, bot tier 2 falls, Fnatic move mid where Bwipo's been pushing, they're going to take mid tower, now Bwipo's going to move top. So the shifts are so clean from Fnatic, and SK can't really find a room to engage. They don't have TP wards behind to try and find flanks. They don't have numbers advantage because Fnatic are staying grouped and they're always ready to join a fight, especially with the Infernal Rift, right? It's so easy to just rotate across. So SK, they just have to give it up, farm, scale, try to find some itemization and wait for Fnatic to make a mistake.
And there's some small moves that SK made there that I think are pretty smart, you know, seeing that Fnatic are playing mid-bot split. So, you know, they take their topside camps. You know, when traditionally a lot of teams would maybe sprint over to protect their bot lane towers, see how long they can hold on. SK know that more than anything, they need gold, they need items to try and contest against the Fnatic carries. So getting a red buff onto Jezu, these kinds of things are virtually all they can find for themselves at this moment.
Treat's actual flash up and available is going to go for it, but somehow Bwipo manages to make it out unstoppable. It looks like perfect timing on the startup there of the Sion ultimate, but TynX still going to chase here.
You're just... Now he doesn't have ulti, so he can't cleanse this off.
Flash away, though. Treatz now coming in off to the side. Blue with the follow-up. It's a lot of good damage. They're burning everything just to take down Bwipo. This is a good start, but keep your eyes on Fnatic in the mid lane. What do Fnatic get back in exchange? Massive shutdown to the Kai'Sa is good news for SK, but at what cost?
We said this 15 minutes ago. Go ahead, kill a Sion, see how long it takes you. You're going to lose more elsewhere on the map. In this case, it will be the mid lane inhibitor and the tower and the bot lane tower as well. SK having numbers advantage temporarily for 30 seconds, but they used a couple of critical ultimates just to try and burst through Sion's HP bar.
Yeah, Fnatic smartly back off. They don't want to take a fight. Even though SK used quite a lot of ultimates in that fight, there's no reason to take a 4v5, right? Just back off, respect it. And that's the thing with the 4-1. Yes, you can catch out the one member on side, but the 4 will always be pushing. Fnatic have to push in mid, they have to push in bottom. When Bwipo eventually dies on this tank Sion, SK have to retreat. They can't push out top. They can't get anything on the map for it. All it is just a shutdown. Yes, a shutdown's nice, but what did you lose for it, right? You lost waves in mid, you lost waves in bot, you lost your mid tower. So all in all, it's almost like a winning trade for Fnatic, regardless of Bwipo dying. So that's why it's so good to get this setup going, because SK, their only pick-off member is a tank. It takes too long and they lose too much.
It's why nearly all the best top lane champions at the moment are either insanely tanky, have insane sustain to duel it out like an Aatrox or an Ekton, or insane ways to escape from these fights. It's all about delaying the enemy team, buying time for your team to get major work done on the other map.
Yeah, Nisqy soloing up the Drake, the 4-1 coming back out from Fnatic, and this is the problem. If you play on 2 lanes with a 4-1, you're always going to get an advantage. Yes, SK can send members top side, but they're playing on 1 lane, so they do end up getting top tier 1, but they're going to have to base because they're going to lose that tier 3.
Oh no. Blue caught out just, so much damage now coming in. Upset pulls the feathers back a little bit early, not anticipating the stopwatch. Jezu can now try to go in, but Upset goes up into the air, comes back. Feather reset is there soon. The knockback from Jenax keeps Jezu alive. The rest of the team, though, they're still ready to go. Fnatic feeling a little bloodthirsty. The sleep can come through onto 2. The Azir now locked up. Maybe, just maybe, SK can turn this fight. Treatz now trying to get it back. Nisqy stunned up off to the side, punted into the middle of the team, but Nisqy gets out. He still has the ultimate. He pushes SK away, and Fnatic are holding on for now. Upset, most of his defensive options gone, but he still has
Watch Jezu, look at the damage!
He still has flash. Upset, healthy. Or SK gonna overextend, overstay their welcome. Fnatic a little bit too greedy on that one. Upset setting up the feathers, ready to make his way out. No major ultimates left for the side of SK, and Fnatic will be able to back off.
Oh, it's so hard to call off that chase. SK have been losing this entire game, and they got 2 kills. So many teams will just keep charging forward there, see what they can get, but they made the right call. Diving into an Azir, into a Xayah, even after using their ultimates on those low HP bars, would have been absolute disaster for SK. So they get a couple of kills, they're able to kite around, buy some space for Jezu and Blue to deal a lot of damage, and that's critical leading into this fight.
Yeah, the key thing here is the Xayah Rakan uses their engage on Blue, and Blue stopwatch and manage to get base, and they can't take down the tower in time before Jenax TP's in, so Upset's already used all his spells in the fight. The Jenax push away saves Jezu, and I think Selfmade just overcommits here. Hylissang can't really follow, and Treatz was the one who clutched the fight for SK. Watch Treatz Q flash onto the Azir, knocks him into his team after the stun. Yes, Nisqy gets out, but the whole point is he can't do damage, and neither can Upset. That's a problem of diving too far forwards with the tanky frontline. Bwipo goes in, Selfmade goes in, but Hylissang and the carries, they can't follow.
And credit to SK, because I feel like all season long, SK's team fighting has been exceptional, even when playing at a deficit, because there, you can look at so many different players. Blue surviving the initial engage, TynX landing the sleep on Nisqy, the man that single-handedly won the huge team fights for Fnatic in Game 1, shutting him down and helping Treatz get that CC there. It's absolutely critical to coming away with that one.
Yeah, SK need to find a way to dissect themselves into this Baron Nashor pit, because last time this happened, they just started up, Bwipo tanked it, and they lost the Baron, but SK need to get themselves in there. They don't have enough vision to work with right now, and if you overextend in a phase check, the amount of engage on Fnatic will punish you. Jezu, no flash. Blue can step up quite far. He is level 16. Jenax has the Mega Gnar soon.
Hylissang.
They see Selfmade on that ward too. That's pretty big, knowing that that flank can't come on through. So SK fight over the mid wave, now hitting Bwipo.
Stridebreaker, wall up to kick things off. Jenax can use the ultimate as well. They just want to take the tank down, but it's Selfmade into the back line. It's going to be big, massive ultimate on 4. Nisqy's not there for the follow-up though. They can see him over the wall. They know that they're free to keep fighting. SK playing this one nice and slow. Hylissang debating with his ultimate, but he's not sure where he wants to go. He's going to find one. That's the rest of the team now stepping in. Bwipo is unkillable, and Nisqy is here. Blue gonna flash out to safety. SK holding their ground, but still things slightly shifting in favor of Fnatic as Treatz goes down.
Fnatic have so many forms of engage. You saw it there, the Rakan, the Hecarim, the Sion, even Nisqy wanted to get in there. Does stop Selfmade's base. Nisqy
Does good damage,
Oh,
but that's
man,
an
he has
isolated
ulti.
target. Jenax now in,
Jezu!
the breaker forward. Can they finish the job? Can they get it done?
Oh!
The dash in. Jezu is massive!
Oh,
He's
Jezu
moving
gonna be
invisible. He
low!
goes invisible. TynX buying a bit more space, buying a bit more time, doing good damage on Bwipo. They're gonna take him down, they're gonna stop the Baron. SK, how do you find that window?
Unbelievable. Jezu, the rookie ADC, stepping up in a critical moment, staring down 5 Fnatic members, and he comes away with 3 for his team. Complete carry out of the AD carry from SK Gaming, and they're making this game stay close.
Yeah, punishes Nisqy, and this is what SK need to do. Punish the mistakes from Fnatic, the overextensions on the bot tier 3 dive, on this fight in the river. And Fnatic have such a big gold and such an easy to execute comp, but SK are dodging the engages so well and finding the damage. Jezu absolutely clutched this fight for his team.
And of course, when we look at the start of the fight, SK burning a lot of resources on the Bwipo. Initially a little bit concerned. That's most of their CC. Selfmade going to the back line. It looks like a death sentence for SK, but they hold on.
It's a very small fear duration going point blank like that, even onto 4 members, and there's no follow-up. Nisqy's over the wall, upset, can't really auto-attack in this position either, and it's a good engage attempt. But again, Azonia slows things down. Fnatic now very low HP, walking towards SK, and this is where Jezu notices he has ultimate. He's looking for the W onto Selfmade, thinking he can fly in, and then just has insane damage. Fully stacked passive, by the way, just has to wait for the Zonias to go down, almost gets the kill off just 1 auto, and then follows it up for 2 kills, and SK can finish off a 3rd.
He gets Hylissang in the back as well.
Beautiful.
That was so well played from Jezu. So, Fnatic don't get the Baron. They are still 6,000 gold up. SK have found some kind of control. You can see them contesting mid waves now. So, SK, they've scaled. They're quite strong. TP from Jenax. He has Mega Gnar. Drake spawning in 10 seconds. It's only the 3rd Drake, but it is quite important because it means you have to fight the 4th. Both teams sitting on 2 Drakes. Nisqy poking out Treatz. Treatz has flash though, so he can find and engage at the click of a finger. Nisqy's flash is coming up soon though. We'll have to see how Fnatic want to approach this fight. They have control of the Dragon. What do SK want to do? Do they want to turn and burn the Baron when Fnatic started up? But Upset looks like he's going to solo it out, and Fnatic are showing themselves in the mid wave.
Fnatic winning out on that small exchange. SK, do they double down? Do they try to contest this major objective? The Scuttle Crab in favor of Fnatic means it will be spotted out as Jenax for now will focus on clearing out the vision. But this game went from a 10k gold lead to Fnatic, just about unwinnable to SK, and now we're seeing much closer fights. SK feeling like they could be back in this one.
Yeah, you know, you still favor Fnatic coming into these fights. 6k gold advantage for them, but if SK are going to win, it's going to come through immaculate individual play. Now you have to look at the map. 2 exposed inhibitors for SK, so if they ever commit over towards the Baron, there's always the threat that Fnatic say, have the Baron, we can potentially take your base. You notice 2 waves building up in the bottom lane for Fnatic. A TP on blue, but not on Jenax. So SK don't want to send a primary damage dealer to the bot lane to pick that up. They need to keep them around the Baron, but the clock is ticking. Time is running out.
Yeah, Jenax will have the Mega Gnar again. There's no side waves that SK need to catch. Yes, they could push out bot. For now, they're fine, but Fnatic can push
it down mid.
Yeah, SK need to get back to mid, make sure they push out this wave, and that gives Fnatic the window to go back into this Baron area and clear out the walls that SK have. I mean, there's 4 blue orbs in the Baron pit and a pink, so they need to clear all those out and make sure SK don't have the vision, because once you have the vision control, you're the ones who can find the engage.
And remember, there's no TP on Jenax, so this bot wave they can't do anything with for the time being. Fnatic just look for some massive poke on TynX. Nisqy doing huge damage there.
And you can see Nisqy and Upset both very far into this game. 3 items for Nisqy, 4 items for Upset. The big issue is they haven't found the space to work in these team fights. Blue zoning them out, Jenax, TynX, even Treatz now zoning them out. But the fight ready to get started here. Ultimate just to buy a little space to create a little bit of room. It's TynX off to the side. Eyes on the Swirl Seed is going to connect on the Upset. That's going to be big. Sleep now going in. That's the follow-up. The cleanse comes in, but it's a little bit too late. Ulti comes in. The flashback to safety. Treatz not taking much damage whatsoever.
Jezu goes in!
And now the follow-up. Jezu knocked back, though. Nisqy hits him with just the edge of the ultimate. Jenax now on a rampage. In comes the Mega.
Jenax!
The flash forward. Jenax, this is his moment. He finds it. That's the double kill. SK have turned the fight.
Jenax does it again, showing up in these fights. He's charging down, looking for Bwipo, lands the slow, keeps on going. He's CC'd. Blue is here for the damage, a huge shield on Bwipo, but TynX and crew, Jenax finishes him off. 3 kills in the fight, and it's going to be a Baron.
Jenax is carrying SK to victory here. They can get the Baron. They're back in this game, and this whole fight was underneath a tower. Azir's tower was up there, and SK were fighting 5v5 down in gold under the Azir turret. They managed to find the kills. 3 for 0 on the side of SK, and Treatz' engage with TynX asleep was crucial. That was so well played.
It was beautiful, and it is so rare that you see a team with so many fresh faces on the LEC stage. 4 out of 5 players brand new here this split. And to fight from a deficit, to have a beautiful fight like this, not just once, twice, 3 times in a row, and you have to look at Jenax in it.
Yeah, Treatz finds the engage initially, and I thought the fight was lost here when Jezu dived in because he got instantly knocked back after he flashed. Watch Jezu jumps in with the killer instinct, but then he flashes
Just
away
barely
and then gets
off the
pushed back
flash.
in, and this is all underneath a tower, but Treatz so tanky on this Alistar, tanks up the whole tower for his team. SK find the damage, and there it is. Jenax is playing out of his mind in this playoffs game.
And gentlemen, you talked about thinking the fight was over. I thought the game was over when Fnatic had a 10k gold lead. I thought there's no way that they'd lose this one. I thought SK would be thinking about game
Look at the
3.
Gnar damage! As much as a victor in a 35-minute team fight? That's ridiculous!
And the crucial thing here is Fnatic have 8 towers, SK have 2. There's so much gold on the map for SK to get. There's mid tower, bot tower still up. There's no Baron, TynX already pushing it in, so there's so much free gold for SK on the map for them to pick up. So this gold lead should start to shrink, it should start to go even, but the next big fight is this Infernal Dragon. 1 minute 30 seconds, SK have control around the bot side, Nisqy's pushed out top. Fnatic, they have so many forms of engage, they just need to find the right one.
And we have to remember, the base is still exposed. Overcommitting, overextending for SK in the early game, and maybe it cost them a bit of gold, maybe it cost them a tower here and there. It could cost them the game if they overcommit to a major objective. How many LEC games have we seen end with base races, with small overcommits to major objectives like this Infernal Soul? But Fnatic still in control for now, but SK are fishing for the flanks. They've got a lot more control over the map, and Jenax continues to be on the front lines, threatening, teasing Fnatic, baiting them, asking them to come in for this fight, knowing that blue is there for the backup. Jezu as well, and Treatz off to the side, fishing for these angles, but Fnatic pushing into enemy territory.
That's a sleep on Nisqy!
Does dash away though. Bwipo uses the chem tank, trying to zone them away. Up on the side as well. Fnatic are in SK's base.
Jenax, what can he do?
Dash forward, he's gonna find one. Nisqy still alive. The push back onto Treatz. Nisqy now free to do as much damage as he wants. Treatz getting cut down there, but TynX now dashing, running into the backside, prancing as fast as he can, but he goes golden. He gets very little damage down, and Hylissang now with the follow-up, peeling away. Nisqy's still alive. Hylissang, has he saved the day? But no, Jezu shuts him down. The rest of Fnatic now retreating. They are getting routed into
Jenax
the
is
base of
TPing in.
SK.
Jenax is looking for the flank using the move speed. Bwipo tries to turn it back on towards blue here, but Jezu goes flying in there with killer instinct.
What can he do? Nothing left. Jezu finds it. That is massive. The confidence from Jezu. The balls on this player in the playoff series are outstanding.
SK can end the game. There's 50 seconds on Fnatic. They have the Baron buff. Jenax is pushing in. Blue's going to TP in as well, I think. Jezu's right behind them. SK have mounted the biggest comeback I've ever seen in my life.
It's absolutely unreal. Selfmade versus the world. 1 versus 4, but it's a Mega Gnar ready to pop. Blue, Jezu, and TynX. SK from the brinks of game point are turning it back and looking for the win.
We thought that there was no way. We thought with this composition they could not turn it back. Selfmade tries to buy time, but he cannot kill the creep wave. But SK, they find it. They turn it back in a miraculous comeback in game 2. SK will tie up the score 1-1.
Oh my lord. I thought for sure SK are out of this game. 10,000 gold down. Infernal Soul point for Fnatic. Fnatic had Baron at 24 minutes. They had 2 open inhibitors. And SK, Jenax and Treatz finding the engages, and Jezu just playing these team fights so pixel perfectly.
SK's team fighting has been ridiculous all year long, and yet that is the best I have ever seen them in a deficit there. Jenax's Gnar, finding Nisqy, removing the main carry threat from Fnatic, absolutely mission critical.
And I thought it was all going to be, Treatz on the flanks coming into this series. Jenax has stepped up in a big way, but Jezu as well. Kai'Sa, one of his least played champions, only 2 games on it headed into this series. I thought it was going to be the Kalista, I thought it was going to be the Jhin, but this man showed up when it matters most. SK pulling off an incredible comeback, one of the best we've seen in a long time. They have turned this series on its head, and after the break, we're going to give you an in-depth look right after this.
Welcome back to the LEC studio. We have a series on our hands because SK Gaming was staring down a potential 2-0 start with Fnatic in the lead, but they fought their way back to even out the series at 1-1. I'm once again joined by Crownshot as well as Vedius. And honestly, for the first 35 minutes of the game, I thought it was done. I thought Fnatic had in the bag.
Yeah, I actually thought the game was over. Wow, I'm kind of impressed. I think it comes back to something that we were talking about, well, pretty much all split long when it comes to Fnatic, where sometimes they are their own worst enemy, you know, where sometimes they overextend. This time I felt like that it wasn't that they were forcing too many fights that they went too deep on. It was just a couple of situations where they overextended, they overstepped too slightly, and it was actually SK that were quick to punish and aggress, and they were actually the benefactors of it. So you have to give a lot of credit to SK for seeing those opportunities, but this was a game that Fnatic should not have lost on paper.
Just very quickly before we jump into the replays, Vedius, can you talk a little bit about the impact that we're seeing from Selfmade in the early game, maybe the limited impact we're seeing from TynX? And we were discussing a lot backstage about how it didn't feel like TynX was anywhere to really help his laners out.
Well, funnily enough, we were planning for game 3, and we were talking about how, like, well, one of the big things that needs to change is, 1, the draft, but also 2, TynX's impact in the early game. Because right now, regardless of the champion that Selfmade is on, it feels like that he is having presence in his lanes. Particularly in top, he's playing a lot around Bwipo.
Yeah.
This game, he played a lot around Nisqy. And I think that we haven't really seen anything from TynX in the early game so far. And I think that that big discrepancy is putting SK in these huge early disadvantages. So if they don't change that, they may end up just in a similar situation throughout the rest of the series. So I do hope we get to see a little bit more from TynX moving forward.
Absolutely the case. Now let's jump into some of these comeback team fights. And Crownshot, I'm going to go to you first. Talk me through what you were seeing from this. The Shoutcasters were losing their minds about Jenax and Treatz, obviously, but this is upset being jumped on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just Fnatic going too deep. Like, you can just wait for the, like, so here, you don't need to ult in with Hecarim. You can just hit the Alistar that's on your backline, just peel your ADC. I don't know. And here, Nisqy doesn't need to go in and lose 80% HP for no reason. They can just reset and play Baron and get Baron and win the game. They're 6k up, right? They don't need to do this. Like, there's no need for this. They're 6k up. The game is theirs. They don't need to hit inhib when Nash is up. When this inhib, both inhibs are exposed. They don't need to do this. Look, they have no vision on Nash, right?
Crownshot,
yeah,
they
I know they want to.
to.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, they want to. That's why they will drop games like this, right? But here, they can just play on Nash vision. SK has no Nash vision. They clear the 2 pings that you see on Raves, and then they just fish for picks when SK have to eventually enter, right? But they just choose to take the fight. They lose the fight because that's where SK wants to team fight in spots like this where there's a lot of disruption and the Kai'Sa can ult, Gnar can ult, and then they just lose. Yeah.
Oh, I am curious. So I thought about this a little more. My reservations around Azir plus Hecarim. I feel like Hecarim wants to dive. I feel like Rakan wants to dive. I feel like Azir just wants a frontline. Do you feel that the comp is fine? Like, obviously, I think that we're in agreement that Fnatic's comp outscale, but a part of me feels that when you get into late game fights, Fnatic's comp can actually be quite difficult to play because you have this front line that wants to dive onto the back line, whereas you have this back line that just relies on a front line.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point because it does happen a lot of times where if you have a team comp where certain champions have different roles, you can... this team comp should be played front to back, right? With Xayah, Azir.
Yeah.
And even though they have divers like Hecarim, Rakan, you can still use them to just create space for your backline. Like you can, I don't know, maybe ult backline with Hecarim, then instantly go out. Or Rakan can just charm the Alistar and the Gnar, right?
Right.
So even though I understand your point, I think if they play a bit more controlled, they should have...
Right, there it is, right.
On paper, it makes sense, but there's still people that have to pilot these champions, and the people behind the champions of Fnatic just want to go forward. We've got one more fight.
Yeah.
That once again, Crownshot, I'm going to throw this one to you. And again, just Jenax just popping off, and this was with Fnatic. I was a little uncomfortable, obviously swapping sides and Fnatic being inside SK's base. But again, do you just accredit this, like, why are Fnatic there?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, why are they inside the enemy's base, past the tier 2, getting flanked from, like, 3 sides? Dragon is not up. Their top lane is gonna push in. They obviously can't hit the mid lane inhib because they just cannot. So just wait, just push the mid wave and then go into Drake and then clear vision. Like, why are you, like, it just doesn't make sense for them to be there, right? So I think maybe they just got a bit... yeah, I mean, no, it's just weird to me, because for me, I was like, okay, this is 2-0, right? And then I see them just throw a massive lead, right? And like, even the goal difference, they were never even behind. That's how I heard they were. But I think for sure, they should just be more controlled. When you're playing Xayah, Azir, it doesn't matter, like, team comps are always dictated by how the carries want to play, right? If the carries want to go in, then you will go in. If the carries need to get peeled, then you will peel, generally. So if we have Azir Xayah, you just need to peel your Azir Xayah and they will carry.
Well, we've got a little bit over a minute to go before we head to an ad break and game 3. Vedius, let's talk a little bit about Jenax on Gnar. Jenax continues to deliver, continues to be one of the unsung heroes, and continues to be one of the incredibly influential players in SK games.
I mean, yeah, I think he had a very good game. at the end. At the beginning, he got heavily punished by the enemy top
How
jungle.
often do you think he's being camped?
I mean, he's getting camped a lot. This game is a very self-made Bwipo focus from the side of Fnatic, that's for sure. But I will say that him alongside Treatz have been very impactful in what's making SK win these fights. Yeah, he certainly has been a treat for watch. And I think that the top support duo has been doing a great job. But it's one of those situations where, yes, Fnatic did throw, but you also always have to catch the throw. And I think the SK did do a great job in their team fights, and that is where you always have to give praise to some of the standout members, which for me have been Treatz and Jenax, especially in this game.
Well, let's see whether or not SA can find a more impactful early game. As Fnatic lost game 2, they get side selection, have elected the blue side once again off that amazing comeback. SK are back in this series. We'll see if they can move up to match point in just a few minutes.